All right, we got another episode of Crowns and Crows, two-man show tonight. Lakez and Draegan back in action after a long hiatus off.
What's up, guys?
Couple notes at the top here, just to remind everybody that might not remember. We're now on a 2-week schedule, so every other week will be on. We're no longer a once-a-week type of show until the game starts cracking and we can start talking about more stuff every single week. Valor is no longer with the show. He's taking a hiatus for some real life stuff he needs to take care of. So he's gonna probably be in the audience or tweeting at everybody and annoying everybody with social media. But he no longer has the time to do the show. So everything else falls on me and Lakes. And the doc is still here, but he's actually moving. So Godspeed on that. I hate moving.
Dude, I hate moving too, man. It's like the worst thing in the world, bro. It's like picking up your life and relocating it somewhere else. To unpack it, dude. To unpack your life.
Packing is not the bad part. It's the unpacking I hate. I hate just lugging all that shit. I'm glad I haven't been able to do it. Haven't had to do it in about 3 years or so. So I'm happy with that at least. So there's not much news in the last 2 weeks. We got some two fly in the wall videos. The first one was entirely about the EK and the arts team, so I kind of skipping over that one with some nice information about how you can build castles and there's blueprints and there kind of things like that. But there's a really good video that was released today that I think there's a couple key points that we can hash out. So, Lakes, we probably should tie in today a little bit about the quote-unquote big reveal from around Christmas time and how this kind of assimilates into the whole aspect of crafting, which is what we're going to talk about today. So what were the key things that you picked up on the video?
So being able to socket some of your stuff to kind of help benefit either your crafting or your resource management, that kind of stuff, like that's very unique. On top of that, the crafting system, I think, is coming together as a whole because now you have your avatars that are craftable. And at this point, crafting in my mind wasn't really, like I was very scared about the gear level and that crafting aspect of the game itself. But now with it coming together and the fact that there's just so many things that you can craft, I feel like it's easy to manage to keep the skill or the gap on the gear itself there. Mm-hmm. And it gives variety to crafters. So they're not pigeonholed into
just making swords or whatever.
They're making... So they're able to do a lot of different things. And to be honest, it's starting to put a lot of value on the avatar system. And being able to have that strong archetype, that stuff is going to mean a lot. So when they start to talk about socketing some of your houses or your buildings and stuff.
That was the first thing I saw, yep.
Right. That is a huge thing towards the crafting system. And I'm not a big crafter, but I think there's a lot of people out there that are into it. And I'm interested to see kind of what they think. Maybe they can let us know in chat what they think of the crafting system.
Well, I mean, like, you don't have to be a crafter per se to actually enjoy what they're putting together. Because a lot of us want to just fight and go around either collecting shit, blowing shit up, or whatever. And you need to take part in the economy. For most games, you have people that make potions or make gear, and it's like a one-time thing. You craft the big sword, or you craft a bunch of pots that you pull from the guild bank, and that's about it. This game, everything revolves around the economy. Ammunition for your bow, your avatar or your vessels that you have to craft, just like Eve. When your vessels blow up, your houses blow up, because we found out today that buildings do have sockets, so you're going to be putting shit in there too. And that's probably going to be another craftable item that you're going to have to make. And like me and Doc were saying 2 weeks ago, and I was saying, it's just like Eve. So you're building your guns. You're building... Basically, the sockets are just like your hard points on a ship in Eve, which I think is great.
I think that this game's coming together more and more that I sit back and people were like, oh, it's a MOBA. Remember when they first came out, everyone's like, MOBA, it's going to be a MOBA. So that is completely off the table. At this point, if anyone calls it, you're silly. But where I think it's coming into play is this game is probably... more along the lines of an MMO/survival game, like we were saying more recently, because you go in, you spawn, you're going to have to create everything yourself and survive against the elements, against other people. You're going to have to collect, you're going to have to craft your weapons, your armor, places to stay, even your avatars. All this stuff is all craftable, and the game itself is I think more of a survival game, except it's an expiration of however long that campaign's going to be.
Well, the great part about the whole campaign aspect of it, people are going to be more inclined to risk what they have because they know, why the hell am I sitting on a whole bunch of shit when the game's going to end in a month or 3 weeks from now? So it's not really that big of a deal that you're going to have to be a hoarder. Use your stuff and go out there. I think it's going to be a really fun thing. And then the other thing is, when you're looking at campaign worlds that have high-level crafters in them already, and what other skills are going to be able to give them as part of the game as it's starting, should be an interesting balancing factor, I think, too. Let's talk about one scenario that they talked about at the beginning of that video, where they said there's an orchard, you can get seeds, and you can bring them back to wherever and plant them. To me, this lists and potentially burn the orchard down so no one else can get those resources. There's a couple things in here beyond the crafting that kind of reveal the mechanics of the game. One, there's going to be resource areas, whether it's a forest or whatever, that can grow back or appear, or however that happens. They're going to give you resources that allow you to go out and build other things, like grow more trees somewhere else that's safe. And not only that, you're going to be able to destroy them and screw other people.
Yes. So there's several different mechanics in there. So they're putting in a denial of resources, not by camping it and kind of sitting there and PvPing people. That's obviously a way to do it. You know, you manage that. You have your farmers take, and then you set your PvP stronghold and you kill people. But destroying it and not having to put any kind of manpower there after you destroy it is a cool way to deny resources.
Absolutely.
So that is in there. That's within the game. That's actually a really cool system. And then being able to, like you said, take that back and kind of make it your own and put some elements of protection around it, or whatever the case. Who knows what they're going to do in that aspect. But I definitely like the denial of resources that they're putting in. It's definitely making the game a little more strategic. On top of risk versus gain is definitely coming into play a little more, because now you have your avatar you have to worry about, crafting of your buildings. You want
the disciplines that you're putting in sockets, because those go away too, I would imagine.
Yep. And all this is coming into play in this huge risk versus gain. And now the game is becoming a little more than just combat. And everyone loved the combat, but now we're getting to see the game as a whole kind of being shaped. And it took a while. The game has definitely taken a lot of changes from Kickstarter to now. What we thought the game was going to be to now, and that's okay, because it's a fluid environment. But right now, the emphasis on crafting back then, I thought it was going to be, you know, very gear dependent. People are going to be crafting
build your
swords,
armor, build your swords,
right, and they're going to be ultimate crafters that are able to craft that plus 15 weapon or however they planned on doing it. But now the crafting's so diverse, I feel like, on top of the risk versus gain within the risk versus gain within the game. Is shaping up. Well,
here's another thing, talking about risk versus reward. Somebody had linked the old resource chart where, you know, there's like 15 tiers of resources or whatever, and as you get down towards the higher tiers, they're only available in some of the more riskier campaign structures. So essentially, dregs are the hardest. And that's something that we haven't really talked about, and me and Doc brought it up 2 weeks ago, was if you want to build some of the highest stuff, you have to go into the dregs to get it, which means they're going to have to relate the difference between import and export ideals, which were still kind of like, I don't know how that's all going to work, and win conditions and all that, and compared to other people not involved in those riskier scenarios. So is there a whole tier of stuff that they'll never be able to touch? Like what if like certain avatar or for certain vessels need like upper tier stuff? Do they never get access to that?
Not unless you plan on trading. I think that they are going to make it very much the only way to get the top level stuff is you have to play in the dregs, and you have to risk a lot to get that. And if you end up winning the campaign, you're able to take stuff out, it's going to be worthwhile. They want that possibility of you losing everything within the dregs to gain a lot. And I think that also opens up the fact that I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want to play in the dregs. They don't want to risk a lot. So it's going to mean a lot for the guilds that want to go in there. The people that go in there, they're going to be able to come out with the resources that maybe people don't want to risk. So they're going to lose some things but gain a lot. I think
I think they have to
cool.
I think they have to find a way to combine all the different rings of difficulty, much like how Eve combines 0 spec space and 1.0 space. Somehow, I have a feeling somehow there's going to be a way to get from different campaign to campaign. Whether I may be completely off on this, and I probably am, but I think there's going to be a way when you go into a campaign. Yes, you have to play it out, but there might be some temporary things what you might be able to do for whether it's trading or anything else, because we still haven't seen the import-export type of stuff. And so I doubt it, but it would be an interesting aspect to kind of get the Care Bears versus the hardcore to kind of mingle together, because you need those economies to talk to each other.
Well, it's going to be the EK. The EK is where they're going to be able to mingle. That's where it's bringing all the
import-export stuff
together within the campaign, or the EK, the internal kingdoms. But at this point, the last thing that anyone wants to be able to do, or I personally, let's just say I didn't want to play in the dregs and I wanted to play on one of the outer ring levels. I'm out there having fun with my friends, and now there's some sort of system within the game where my partner or my people I'm playing against are able to back out, go to another campaign, get resources to build this ultimate stuff, and then come back into the campaign on the outer and build this almighty gear that they're not at risk of losing. That's one thing that I think they'll control, because that will kind of make it unfun for people, right? Because if there's a resource that you can't get within those outer campaign, or within that, with not being in the outer campaign ring, limiting those within the only time you can get it is kind of EK trading. I think that's a good way of doing it, because then at that point, let's just say on those outer rings, you're not able to bring in that ultimate super avatar because of the import-export rules. So you're not able to import that amount of weight or that kind of gear within those outer rings. So it kind of controls the environment for people and their levels.
The only thing I don't know how to get around is for people that are playing in the dregs, the EK probably means less to them than somebody that's playing in the less riskier bands for whatever reason, and just because of the nature of those type of players, I think. And if the less riskier players probably want those higher tiered materials, what can entice the EK player to bring them to them if they're playing in some of the more riskier campaigns? That's a giant what if. That's one of the things I'm interested in learning on how the economy kind of goes full circle. I wanted to also talk about the next point that that we learned about in the video is the idea of factories, as they called them. And Thomas had a really good analogy. He said if you needed to make a new bow or make a bunch of new arrows, you would just basically go locally, chop down a couple trees, make your arrows, and go about your day and have fun. However, they said that there's a factory that you could place or build that produces 3,000 pieces of wood. And they talked about how you might find one of those things out in the wilderness somewhere, and part of the game is you can't carry all 3,000 pieces of wood by yourself. You have to travel with friends and animals and make the caravan, making new PvP hotspots, guarding resources and moving them. To me, and this is a point that ties in with the whole orchard scenario, is probably the most fun I've had in an MMO was probably going back in Age of Conan. As short-lived as it was, guarding one of the hot XP spots in the game while your other dudes in your guild were leveling up and you were just basically running patrol, that was great because you were protecting a resource. Games like ArcAge and I don't even know, Elder Scrolls, Guild Wars 2, there's really no resource gathering. It's just running around fighting each other. There wasn't really anything else to kind of entice people to play. So that's kind of what I'm psyched about, especially with this whole factory things and things that you can either build, you can place, because they were talking about placing them in keeps, near keeps, finding them. I mean, I'm kind of excited about that.
So I also like the idea of now they've got these hotspots. Now you've got this caravan. You got people going. Now you can just, like, a lot of people enjoy playing just a gank. They like to gank.
Yep.
And there's a specific guild out there that is take some, what is it, packs. They're into the stealth kind of thing. Like they're a stealth guild, so they would probably very much excel or really like the idea of being able to gank these guys trying to take their stuff, and that's how they would probably do their economy, is by yanking, taking, selling it off, trading at that point.
Yep.
Just kind of being those mercenaries, and it does open it up. I think that's a realm within the MMO that is pretty common. They have it in Black Desert Online, as far as your caravans and the guild quests and being able to build your guild gold and all that stuff. You have to take that caravan and you have to guard it, and then they have NPCs that try to kill you on top of players. I think can be able to kill you once you're a certain level. They'll flag, they'll fight you, they'll take your stuff. I think that's a very cool thing within the game, and there's currently a lot of playstyle within within Crowfall that they're bringing in from other games. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think like we've said, when you have to give players reason to fight. In games like Guild Wars 2 and Elder Scrolls, didn't give players reasons to fight other than just fighting for the sake of fighting, which is great and all when you have a great guild and you're just going head to head for rivalries that you've had for years. But after a month, most of the guild goes away because there's really no point into playing anymore. And I like the idea where Todd had the example of the block of stone that you got at a quarry. So they've always talked about the quarry. Now we know that there's a quarry that you can take a big block of stone from, at least theoretically. And he assigned a value, 3,000 pieces of stone. You can break down the stone into smaller blocks so you can carry them. So you split it in half. Instead of getting 15 and 15, you get 1,000 and 1,000. You lose 1,000 by breaking it down, and so forth. Or you can bring the whole block to your factory and get 3,000 gold. So you can have the Zerg guilds out there that will just break down stone and everything else and have 100 people bring everything back. Or you can have the people that caravan it back, like we were talking about. So it gives incentive for players to create caravans. Because if there was another way of the min-max theory crafting part of it is you break down all the stone into bunches of 100, you have enough people, you all wing it back, you don't even have to do the caravans. But now the stone forces you to have caravans, or it just becomes inefficient and a waste of time.
Right, so that risk versus gain as well.
Exactly.
Some of those things, like maybe you don't have a caravan, but you don't have enough people to take it all, so you want to break it down into smaller chunks so you can take what you could, and then risk giving it all up. It's a resource denial too, because you're going out there, you're chopping it up quick before anyone can get to it, and then you're taking what you can, scavenging, and run away.
It also creates a scavenger class of people, too, because you're waiting for those people to take a whole block of stone and see what kind of remnants they leave over and snag it before they either destroy it or somebody else attacks. Might be excellent strategy involved as well, or gameplay, I should say. Absolutely.
I was just reading what Keegan asked Thomas here. So, hey, Blixev, who gets to design the stronghold layout in a campaign world? First person to claim it, anyone, team of 3? Still debating on that. That's interesting. That's a good question.
Well, I think I bet you the discussion is based on how complicated you want to make the permissions and how much you want to blend all the tools together. I guess that's from a technical point of view, and then how safe do you want to make it? Because I look there, Thomas just talked about sabotage and stuff like that. Do you hand over permissions to people, let people screw things up? So from that video, we know Thomas is very much into the freedom of letting players build stuff and be creative, which I like. I mean, I love the whole idea about building stuff. And we've been talking about the survival games where you just build shit wherever you want and players can destroy it or whatever. So I like it. I like more creativity, I think. Right.
And I think when I first started talking about my vision of what I wanted Crowfall to be, so I've been playing, or I have played and get ready to play again, Black Desert Online. That combo system I really enjoy. And the fact that the combo system is kind of being utilized in a different way, but in Crowfall, I feel like I love that. I love combo systems because it makes that bar small. I hate a skill bar.
We're going to need to talk about that, I think, in 2 weeks about the combo system. Because I'm just getting deep into BDO myself, and I'm learning the combo system, and I think we need to kind of dedicate a little bit more time to it.
After the closed beta test too, we definitely talk about.
I'm playing in Korea right now.
Oh, I'm not, because I don't want to get burnt out. I'm running. I'm going to be the AGM of a chapter.
I'm basically playing every class up to level 15. Check it out, and then I'm done. I'm not actually playing past level 20. I don't, like you said, I don't want to get burned out. But it's $5 you get to play it, so it's no big deal.
But the combo system itself, I'm really enjoying, and I like the fact that Crowfall's taken that. I love survival games. There's a lot of people that love survival games, and having to make your environment from scratch, gather the resources, build your stronghold, do whatever you want within the game, is all player driven. A lot of players thrive on that kind of environment, and that's going to open it up. There's no town to run into like a normal MMO for the most part, right?
Absolutely.
There's all player built stuff, and I think that's going to change the dynamic. People are going to love or hate Crowfall because of that. Some people want things a little easier. They don't want to build everything themselves. I think it's a cool concept. I love the survival aspect of the game.
Here's a point that I brought up with Doc 2 weeks ago. It's basically Crowfall's a niche game. It's never meant to be targeted millions of players. They would love them, but they're not going after that. And if you go on Steam any given point, some of the top games that are being played right now are, what is it, Ark, H1Z1, and one or two other, I can't remember off the top of my head, one or two other survival games, where they're session-based games that last either an hour, multiple hours, or a week, and they're on 24/7, and players are used to logging in, building stuff, and then when they go to sleep or go to school or whatever, they know that their shit could get destroyed when they're not there, and they're perfectly okay with that because that's the expectations when you go into that type of game. So I think it's proven that you have all these people that have been playing MMOs since EverQuest, and they think everything has to be there. I can't miss anything. Everything can't be destroyed. I'm not wasting my time. But they're designing a game around that aspect, and there's already a proven marketplace for that and players.
Yes. And that risk versus gain, man. Do you want to put everything into one stronghold? Do you want to build several things and spread it out amongst a large area so where you have different spawn points and I personally, when I play survival games, I don't build one big fort. I build a house here, a house there, a house here, a house there, and I put them all over the place.
Yeah, spread them
different storage, and I spread it out because it's going to get destroyed. My stuff's going to get taken. So I put resources spread out, so if I die, I have access to multiple different things, so I can get back, go grab it, go get my body back, or get my stuff back by shooting them, killing, whatever. But that's my play style, and I can't do that with a large guild, I don't think, per se. It's something that we're going to have to look at the campaign worlds, but I do like the aspect that you could play like that, I think, if you wanted to.
Did you just see what Thomas put in chat? That we've kind of speculated on it. I don't know if they've ever really announced it yet, but the concept of Thralls. So it says, hopefully after the materials are added and the Thralls start building it, it will take hours, in reference to keeps and buildings and stuff like that.
So you don't need to do that. It's hireable by an NPC.
Or I guess players can do it, but do it at an accelerated rate and build things with their own tools.
That's pretty cool, though.
I've been looking for an MMO to start putting in design aspects of RTSs, basically the peons that go collect shit for you. Like Star Wars: The Old Republic started doing that with your followers going out on quests which are basically gathering materials for you. And now it's going to be happening in the actual game world, which is awesome because they probably can be killed and raided and all that other stuff, which is going to be awesome.
I think they did say that Thralls are going to be a targetable NPC. You can kill the opposing enemies' Thralls. I love it. Like, you leave your base, you go do your thing, you have a slow guy or NPC building something for you, you gank that Thrall, you take what resources you put on him to build, and now he's vulnerable. So I love the different aspects. And two, I'm not stuck there building it myself. I'm not sitting here, doing that myself.
Some people like that shit.
They do like it. They even have, in Camelot Unchained, they have the building. It's called Cube, I think. I don't even know what it stands for. But they have the way to build buildings and different elements of the game outside of the game itself. It's like a whole emulator on the outside of the game. And I people loved it. They love that aspect of the game, and some people just like they want the nicest thing they could do. So I like the survival aspect, the crafting, the socketing of buildings, everything. It's very unique, and I think it leaves a lot of diversity to the game too. Like, what if you want to have your buildings specifically set up to boost your wood making or something like that, or your wood
make work camps or something like that. Right.
And I like the fact that you can adjust your sockets and whatever else to kind of fit your playstyle and needs.
Yep. The one thing that I like what we're seeing here, and remember, one thing to remember also, like, Thralls are not only stuff that you could put into slots in your equipment for like special effects. They mentioned that they were going to use them as like mercenaries or guards for your buildings. Maybe that's what you actually socket into them, like a platoon of dudes to protect your stuff. But I think what we're seeing is the game kind of come together and answer the question I've always had for like the last 8 months or however long we've been doing this, 10 months now, is what does your daily play session look like? Before, it was always you log in, you look for this. You're logging in for your guild siege because it was like, okay, we're going to plan an attack tonight at 9 o'clock, so that's what you log in for. But that stuff's not planned every single game session. So you log in, maybe you do a little gathering and a crafting, and you get all your resources built up. You participate in the local economies. You help build whatever. You help a resource is spawned, and you hear about it, so you go to gather that stuff and you caravan it back. Or you hear about it and you attack somebody else's caravan. You go out looking for stuff to kill and capture and stuff like that. So already there's numerous things that you're doing on a daily basis that are constantly changing, constantly in flux. That's completely the opposite of the Guild Wars 2 Elder Scrolls concept of you have a map with a bunch of different keeps and you just go around the map trying to collect points to win, and that's it.
I like it. I do like it. One thing I'm nervous about is how much time do you need to spend within the game to actually be relevant? Do you have to play 6 hours a day? Do you have to play 4 hours a day? Do you have to play every day? I know that there's a lot within the hardcore campaigns. You're probably going to have to play every day, kind of thing, to stay ahead and to continuously grow. But how much time are they looking for an average player to put in to where it's just enough? Is it not enough? I'm just curious because when you develop a game, you are looking at how much play time does someone need to put in on a daily basis,
or do
they need to play every? So I want to know what that time frame's looking like.
Yeah, I think if they've been taking a lot of lessons from Eve, and the one thing in Eve is you can equip a ship or pilot a ship with jammers or basically CC. And if it can make an easily equipped vessel for a player that has basic, the basic knight, it has a grab, and then you're able to, if you have a grab and you're good at it, you're instantly useful to any PvP fight because you're pulling people from walls, you're pulling people from the battlefield, you're controlling them, you're blocking them. Maybe you're just a knight and they give you some augments for your character that make you really, really strong but really, really slow. All of a sudden, all you do there is stand as a shield wall for your players for like a siege or something like that. It's not fun specifically, but it's more fun in the overall scope of something. You're participating, you're being useful. Versus, maybe being the hotshot, the guy that plays 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I think that's what they're going to have to find.
Yeah, I want to see the happy mediums on, and this is all like design aspect of the game. Maybe Thomas can let us in, but I know that the Thralls are there to kind of take away some of that. You need to be doing this because of Thralls. They clearly said you can use the Thralls to kind of help build things for you. So they're taking some of that aspect of you need to be there, you need to be on 24/7. You need, they're taking that aspect away a little bit. But I want to know what that core design is like. How often does people need to play? How that whole answer to me.
Well, luckily your skills are always training, so as long as you have somebody there that's playing a lot, supporting you with vessels and stuff to socket with them, you're going to always be relevant eventually because you're just going to slowly build your way into a skillful person. Maybe you won't have a broad range of skills, but maybe you have one specialty that you'll be good at that you can jump in from time to time, as long as you have the resources to equip it properly.
VIP status now too.
Absolutely.
Like that takes away from you having to play all the time. Now you can do this with several different archetypes. So.
Absolutely. All right, we've hit the 35-minute mark. We've been shooting for about 30 minutes per show. I think we're at the point now we're getting into a giant bunch of what-ifs and kind of derailing the conversation a little bit. So we're going to end it there. Feel free to stay in the chat and hang out. I've got to take off. I've got a screaming child upstairs, so hopefully you can't hear it over the microphone. So, Lakes, we're another 2 weeks from now. I'm going to be in Florida next week, luckily for me, and then the week after I'll be available for the show. Hopefully you'll be here too, and we'll get Doc in and see what the guys give us. I think we're due for Siege Perilous and the next
Ranger
Dev Diary kind of aspect. It's going to be really badass, so I can't wait for it. All right, guys, have a great night. Tweet at us if you have any questions. Lakes, anything to add?
Nah, man, just waiting for the next Ranger update.
With your dope-ass hat?
Yeah, brah.
There it is.
They gave me my cool crowfall hat.
Very good. All right, guys, have a great night. Thank you very much.